kú ìyèdún, ẹ̀mí wa ṣe púpọ̀ ẹ̀ orílẹ̀ èpẹ̀. Àní gbélé ayé ṣe bí òwúrọ̀ ẹ̀. Good morning, everybody. Compliments of the season. It's been a season where if you have a living conscience, it's been difficult to find reasons to have any form of merriment per se, even though one remains grateful for the gift of life. But when you live in a society that is caving in upon itself, where everything seems to kind of be a cascade, a continuous cascade of bad news, it becomes difficult to marry like we once married when we were younger. When all you really needed to have a Merry Christmas were just new threads if they bought you some clothes. And as long as there was rice, and there was always rice are plentiful, and nobody spoke about Muslims not eating Christian foods or some being halal or not halal. We celebrated together, and this last weekend, you've even lost track of the days, if the truth be told. On Friday, our people were together at the mosque. On Saturday, they were together on the street of Lagos, carrying up Ambata up and down the place. The same people that were in the mosque on Friday. And then, of course, this morning, quite a few of them will be in churches as well, up and down the length and breadth of Yoruba land. That's the beauty of the people who have an identity beyond the Abrahamic religions that have come to define most of our lives. But that was in the lighter mood. Those of you who are familiar with my drill, you know that I'm going to start with the Yoruba language section. If you are unable to follow, please feel free to rejoin us maybe like a couple of minutes before 10 o'clock. My Yoruba pontifications this morning is not a long one, so don't worry. You can always come back to join us. You can come back and join us. So I'll start with my Yoruba language. Ẹ káàárọ̀ ẹ̀yin ènìyàn wa nílé lóko ibi òwú tẹ́ bá wà lórílẹ̀ èpẹ̀. A kọ́kọ́ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run ọba fẹ́mi. Kì í ṣe torí ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń wò mí ni mo ṣe ń sọ Yorùbá, torí àwọn tá a gbọ́n tá a bá jọ sọ. Lẹ́yìn tá a bá jọ sọ tán, tẹ́ bá gbìyànjú láti ra mu ní kéékèèké kẹ́ pé fún wọn káwọn náà gbọ́ ń bẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n lówùúrọ̀ yìí, ní tí mo fẹ́ sọ kò pọ̀, ṣùgbọ́n dá lórí ọ̀rọ̀ kan tí ìyá mi tèmi dàgbà sí lọ́wọ́ tó máa ń sọ. Àmẹ́jẹ́ ń fi àkókò yìí kí n fi dá àwọn alágàbàgebè tán ọmọbi tẹ́ni tán ń tẹ̀lé ti wá, tán ọmọbẹ̀ tó yẹ pé mi náà máa pè lọ́mọ Ìgbò, ọmọ orílẹ̀ Ìgbò ní kíní kan Ìgbò ní. Ìyá mi ilé Ọ̀tún ní Fìdítì ló ti wá. Bàbá ìyá mi ilé Olúkọ́lé ní Fìdítì ló ti wá. Bàbá mi Ìmẹ̀sí ilé ló ti wá. Ẹ jẹ́ kọ́rọ̀ wa kó jọ yé wa, nǹkan ní kí n fi yẹn mọ́rọ̀ yẹn kúrò bẹ́ẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n ìyá mi ni mo dàgbà sí. Tí ìyá mi ò bá sọ̀rọ̀, olórí òwe tí ìyá mi máa pa, a ní àìlójútì olórí àrùn. Níbi tí mo fẹ́ bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ sí láàárọ̀ ẹnu, àìlójútì olórí àrùn. Gbogbo ohun téèyàn bá ti ṣe báyìí, ìyá mi rẹ̀ ẹni tí ò lójútì. Bí èèyàn bá sì ti lójútì, kò sí tí ò lè ṣe. Kí ni ìyá yìí ń wí? A ní bí èèyàn bá ti lójútì, kò sí tí ò lè ṣe. Ẹni tí ò lójútì yóò lọ́bùn, bí ò lójútì yóò jalè, bí ò lójútì yóò parọ́. Gbogbo ẹni tí ò bá ti lójútì báyìí, ìyá mi ní gbogbo kò sí téèyàn tó ń lè ṣe. Ìyá mi àìlójútì ni. Bó bá lójútì ni kò ní ṣe irú tó ṣe o. Kí ni ìyá yìí ń wí? Ó wá fi ń kọ́ mi, ẹni tí wọ́n ti gbé mi lé lọ́wọ́ kí n tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní rìn, ṣé òun ló tọ́ mi, òun lèmi mọ̀ níyà. So ìyá wa máa sọ fún mi pé bóyá èèyàn kan nínú àwa ọmọdé nínú ilé, bóyá ó ṣe nǹkan kan, ó ti tì í bọ̀, bó ṣọmọdé ló ṣe nǹkan, bó ṣàgbàlagbà ni, aláìlójútì ni. Ẹ mọ̀ nígbà tí ọmọ bá dẹ̀sẹ̀, tọ́mọ kékeré bá sì jẹ́ ọmọ tí máa ń béèrè ọ̀rọ̀ tágbàlagbà tó fi dáa kẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ káwọn ọmọ yín ẹ ń báyìí ní ìyá, ẹ jẹ́ kí wọ́n dàgbà sọ́wọ́ àwọn àgbàlagbà yìí ńgbà míì. Tí n bá ti gbọ́ àgbàlagbà lásìkò láti dá ọmọ lóhùn, wọ́n á kọ́ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́, ẹ̀yin ò ráyè mọ́, lẹ́yìn tẹ́ ẹ ti ń sáré káàkiri, ìmí nínú yín ó ti jáde nílé láago márùn-ún àbọ̀ láàárọ̀, ó dòru kẹ́ ẹ tó wọlé, ọmọ ọ̀dọ̀ ló ń bá yín tọ́. Ẹ ń bá ní ìyá nínú yín, ẹ lọ bẹ ìyá yín kẹ́ ẹ mú kó bá yín tọ́. Ẹ jẹ́ n sọ ohun tí ìyá ẹ̀ kọ́ mi. Ìyá yìí ní kì í ṣe ẹ̀ẹ̀kan tó fi kọ́ mi tó gba àsìkò, ṣùgbọ́n tí mo kọ́ kí n tó dàgbà tán. Màámi ní, ṣé mo mọ̀ wípé ilẹ̀kùn mẹ́rìndínlógún ló di ojú mú? Ẹni tó bá sì jọmọ Yorùbá gidi, tó jọmọlúàbí, ọmọ káàárọ̀ oòjíire, bó bá jẹyọ hóró kan ló rí nínú ilẹ̀kùn mẹ́rìndínlógún yìí, ó gbọ́dọ̀ mọ̀. Tí ìyá yìí ń sọ, ó fi gbogbo ara yé mi. Mo tún béèrè, ó ní sórí ojú wa yìí, òun ni fèrèsé èèyàn tá a jẹ́. Pé bí wọ́n bá jẹ́ ọmọ ojú tó mojú, béèyàn bá ń parọ́ fún ọ, ó mọ̀, toró lójútì ni. Bí ò bá lójútì, o ò ní mọ̀, ó kàn ti gbọ́dọ̀ mọ̀ pé eléyìí è ṣe èèyàn kò lójútì. Tó bá jẹ́ ẹni tó lójútì ni, ojú yóò ti ẹ̀ ṣẹ́jú pẹ́. Ó mọ̀ pé ohun tó ń ṣe yìí ó kù díẹ̀ káàtó. Nígbà tó tún yá, ìyá tún sọ fún mi níjọ́ kan, màámi ní, ṣé mo mọ̀ wípé níjọ́ kan àwọn ọkùnrin kan bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní sunkún. Ìkíní níyàwó òun ń dojú ti òun ni. Kí ni wọ́n ló wá ṣe? Ń jalè ni. Ń jalè. Ní bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, olè níyàwó òun. Kò sí bí nǹkan báyìí sọnù ládùúgbò báyìí, ìyàwó òun ni wọ́n máa ránṣẹ́ pé bá wa mú un tó mú. Bí wọn ò rí ń bẹ̀, gbogbo èèyàn ti mọ̀ pé òun lolè ládùúgbò. Ó ti wá dìtìjú fún un. Kí ní sẹ́yìn ni ìwọ wá rí tó ń wí? Ìyàwó òun tó jẹ́ wípé ó dọ́kọ ju kí ló dálẹ̀ lójoojúmọ́ ni wọ́n á máa fà á nú ilé pé tí bá ń gbé ọkọ wọn sùn bí òun nìkan ni ó yàn dí káàkiri àdúgbò ni. Ìkẹta ní kí la wí, kí lẹ gbésẹ̀ tó yìí ń bí tí wọ́n ń sọ. Ṣebí ìwọ níyàwó tiẹ̀ olè, ìwọ níyàwó tiẹ̀ ń dọ́kọ. Ìyàwó òun ò lójútì. Àní ò lójútì. Kò sí ohun tí ò lè ṣe. Ó lọ́bùn, ó lékè, òun ló le, kò lójú kankan tí ń tì rárá. Ṣùgbọ́n kí wá láìláyé gbogbo nǹkan tí mo túmọ̀ sílẹ̀ fún yín, èmi ó sọ fún yín. Ẹ rí àwọn tá a pè ní olórí Nàìjíríà, wọn ò lójútì rárá. Wọn ò ní ojú kankan báyìí tí wọ́n ń tì. Ojú ò tiẹ̀ tì wọ́n rí láti ti kánsẹ́lọ̀ yín, dórí àwọn lọ́balọ́ba yín, dórí àwọn ṣíàmáànù local government yín, dórí ẹ̀gbin inú ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ẹ jó lórí ìdílé gan pàápàá, ẹ̀ tiẹ̀ lójútì rárá. Béèyàn bá sì ti lójútì, kò sí ohun tí ì bí. Ẹ̀yin ẹ wo àyíká wa, ẹ wo ìlú wa. Amẹ́ríkà ló wá ń bọ̀ láti wá máa bá wa lé àwọn gbọmọgbọmọ, àwọn jàǹdùkú tó wà nínú ìlú àwa tó jẹ́ páwa la dìde láti ìlú wa, tá a lọ sí èèyàn Liberia, tá a lọ bá wọn tún ìlú wọn tò. Àwa tá a dìde níyàn bí tá a bọ́ sí Sierra Leone, tá a bá wọn tún ìlú wọn tò. Láì gba kọ́bọ̀ lọ́wọ́ ẹnì kọ̀ọ̀kan. Àwa tí South Africa ń bẹ̀rù láyé àwọn apartheid, tó jẹ́ páwa là ń fún àwọn ANC, àwa là ń fún wọn lówó láti tún ìlú wọn tò. Àwa tó jẹ́ páwa ni ní Namibia, àwa Nàìjíríà, giant of Africa. Má ṣe o, àìlójútì olórí àrùn. Téèyàn ò bá ti lójútì kò ní nǹkan kan. Ṣùgbọ́n ṣẹ́yìn fúnra yín lójútì. Kí lẹ sọ fún àwọn tó bá dọ̀la? Bí wọ́n bá bi yín pé nígbà tí ìlú wa ń dì báyìí kí lẹ wí? Torí lójú ẹ̀mí mi láì tí kú mi kì í pé wọ́n pa á nítàn fún mi ní Nàìjíríà ń ṣẹ́kù mọ́. Àwa làwa di ẹni tí Amẹ́ríkà Trump tá a mọ̀ pé kò tiẹ̀ gbéṣẹ́ rán wa. Òyìnbó tí ò rán wa, àwa tán rí yàtọ̀ sẹ́rú, wọn rí wa bí èèyàn. Àwa ẹ̀rá ìlójútì. Ẹ̀rí tí mo fẹ́ bá àwọn tí ó gbèbò tí a bára wa sọ, ó jìnnà díẹ̀ jù bára tí mo wí náà wà nínú tá a sọ tó bá dìgbà. Ṣùgbọ́n tá a bá ń sọ tìjọba, kí ni ká sọ nípa ara wa? Àwa tá a sí níjọba ń kọ́. Ìwọ bíríkìlà, ṣiṣẹ́ ọwọ́ rẹ tí ó lè gbé ọ̀gá. Tí wọ́n lè rí iṣẹ́ tó ṣe lánàá tàbí kán wùwà tó kán pè ọ́ pé kó wá ṣiṣẹ́ mi. Ìwọ pẹ́ńtà, ìwọ káfíńtà, ìwọ tó ń tún fóònù ṣe, ìwọ tó ń ṣe POS, ìwọ ọlọ́kadà, ìwọ tó ń tata, ìwọ tó ń tepo. Ṣé wà tó ń wù láàyè tiẹ̀ ní kọ́lọ́fín inú ilé ẹ̀? Ṣé ìwọ fúnra ẹ ṣé o fẹ́ firú ẹ̀ lọ́mọ lọ́wọ́? Ṣé inú ẹ á dùn tí wọ́n bá wú ẹ̀ fún? Àìlójútì ni. Kò wá nu mọ́tò tiẹ̀, kò jẹun tán. Dá gbogbo tó wà nínú tó jẹ, kò dá wọ̀ sójú títì. Tó lójútì. Bó bá lójútì, ṣé ojú ò ṣọ̀nà fún ọ ni? Bí wo ò bá ṣe, àtàmọ̀ ló ẹ̀rí ọkàn á ṣáà dá ẹ láre pé o sì nu àwọn tó sọ di bẹ́ẹ̀. Ọ́fíìsì tiẹ̀ tí wọ́n fi ọ́ sí, ṣé ìwọ náà ń gba rìbá àbò ń gbà? Ò ń ṣiṣẹ́ ní supermarket, èló ló ń jí? Ṣé o lójútì? Ìwọ ni dókítà. Èèyàn mélòó ló ti gún lábẹ́rẹ́ saline water lásán tó sì gbowó pé ó tọ́jú wọn fún malaria? Èèyàn tí ò ní typhoid mélòó ló ń fún ní placebo? Ọ̀gá mẹkáníìkì, ẹ kú iṣẹ́ ọwọ́, ẹ kú iṣẹ́ ọpọlọ. Ọlọ́run ò rí, béèyàn ò rí yín, Ọlọ́run rí yín. Ẹ rí nǹkan tí kọ̀ọ̀kan nínú wa bá ṣe láàyè tá a wà, òun ló ń di ìlú. Òun ló ń di ìlú. Tá a bá ṣe ń nàka àbùkù bó ṣe tọ́ sáwọn olórí ìlú yìí, ó yẹ ká máa bira wa náà léèrè láàyè tiwa. Bó la ṣe dé, bó la ṣe ṣe. Ẹ̀kọ́ tí mo fẹ́ fi òwe tí aya mi máa ń pa gbà, mo fẹ́ fi kọ́ yín, òun ni mo fi kọ́ yín. Èmi náà kọ́ ń bẹ̀ o. Torí èmi ṣe rédíò àsọ̀rọ̀mágbèsì, èmi náà kọ́ ń bẹ̀. Ẹ̀yin náà ẹ kọ́. Ẹ wàá ṣe mí ní ìrànwọ́ kan. Tó bá wà níbí tó ń gbọ́ ohun tí mò ń sọ, mo mọ̀ pé o ti gbọ́ already. Ṣùgbọ́n kí ló ṣe fún ìwọ tó bá ṣe ọ́ láǹfààní kankan mú? Ẹ ò kú rí pé mi ò kí ń bẹ̀ yín pé kẹ́ ẹ pè èèyàn kan kó wá bá wa kájọ wà níbí. Nínú gbogbo social media platform mi, eléyìí nìkan ló jẹ́ wípé platform ní nǹkan kan tó ń fún mi ní ever torí ẹ̀ bọ́ sí gbangba kí n wá pè yín pé kẹ́ ẹ máa bọ̀. Ìdẹ́ ṣe yẹn ni mò ń sọ. Mo ní kẹ́ ẹ mú lọ́fẹ̀ẹ́ bó ṣe wà yẹn, ẹ mú. Ẹ gé, ẹ fún àwọn èèyàn tó jẹ́ pé wọn láǹfààní, tó jẹ́ pé bóyá orí WhatsApp náà ti máa rí, ẹ fún wọn náà gbọ́. Tí mo bèrè lọ́wọ́ yín ò jù yẹn lọ. Good morning, everybody. That was my Yoruba language section. And now we're done with that. For those of you who do not speak Yoruba, I think the biggest challenge I'm having is that I'm somewhat in some kind of transition. My assistant, Shayo, was with me for quite a while and had become exceedingly dependent on her for a lot of things. Even the ICE platform has been impacted by her departure from my employment. So I'm in transition, so you are going to bear with me. At some point, I'll make sure, even if it's only as archival material, I'll make sure that these Yoruba language sections are available with subtitles for every one of you to also benefit from. But this morning, I'm particularly interested in speaking to you on a subject that I have titled The Irreverent Truth. But before I would launch into my treatise or sermon, if you will, this morning, let me make a couple of clarifications. I mostly speak to you politically, mostly, even though I ensure that everything I do in the public space, as much as possible, as much as is humanly possible, is conditioned essentially by the truth. It is usually political in nature. But this morning, my subject is going to lead me unavoidably into a bit of the spiritual as well. And at this point, I must share something with you guys. Years back, when I used to be a church goer, now remember, I wasn't one of those who would fraternize with the pastorate. So I was just a church goer, regular church goer and all. But I can't remember how this happened, but I was praying with, I think it was during the yearly Pray Until Something Happened program back in the days in my church going days. And a gentleman was praying with me and he said to me, "Oh, you end up on the pulpit." And I laughed myself silly because I know as a fact that I am not possessed of the religious dogmatism that is required to stand behind pulpits in Nigeria, at least church pulpits. And I interpreted what he had to say in those terms, interpreted it as meaning a church pulpit somewhere. So, as far as I was concerned, it was a non issue. But as the years have unfolded and I found myself speaking to you more and more, I'm beginning to realize that there are pulpits in multiple locations. Some people are blessed to have their pulpit in the marketplace as traders, but by the example of how they do what they do, they will preach God, however they worship God in that space. So even though I have kept my interventions with you political, this morning's subject veers a little bit on the spiritual. Interestingly, I'm not sure I even have a single scripture for anyone except, of course, I'm going to be speaking, probably using, uh, I'll be using, what shall I call it? Yoruba scriptures, our proverbs, as they may come to me. You know, as the Igbos say, and Yorubas also have it as well. They say, Yorubas even say it. We have a proverb that says, Owe leshin or leshin owe. Igbos express it as uh, proverbs at the oil by which you eat your yam, something along. So it's natural to us Africans to speak sometimes using proverbs. So I would be using those. So I'm just clarifying that. Don't worry, I'm not going full blown church pastor on you, and I don't plan to do so anytime soon. So this morning I want to speak on the irreverent truth. Now, you already know what the truth is. Everybody knows what the truth is, as long as they continue to have the Spirit of God in them, however they worship God. They know what the truth is. Instinctively, you recognize the truth. Sometimes it is revelatory, and you might need to find further proof to begin for it to be established in your mind. But the truth is the truth is the truth until you begin to pass the truth. That's PARSE. But when you now talk about the irreverent truth, what does it mean? Oh, some people will say it's disrespectful truth. It's cheeky. It's flippant. It's impertinent, impudent, mocking, tongue in cheek. Yeah, irreverent. There is a lack of reference or truth. And the more I thought about this, the more I realized that there's something funny going on because here is what happened, and this is what provoked the thought. I met an old friend and we were talking, and this guy said he's a member of the APC, deeply entrenched in the APC, high up in the hierarchy, a high office holder. And we were talking, and he said to me, we know you are saying the truth, but man, koja here. That is, we know you're saying the truth, but you don't know your bounds. You talk without respect. I'm like, hold it, bros. The problem is that the truth does not recognize boundaries. The truth is irreverent. It is not a respecter of men. The truth simply is the truth. It may offend you. In fact, it will offend you. It will. If it is the truth and you have done the wrong thing, it must offend you because it is the spirit of rebuke. It is the spirit of God that is working when you hear the truth. Bob Marley, parlaying on a Jamaican proverb, he said, the truth is an offense, but it's not a sin. You know, this time last year, I was less than a week out of prison. I had 21 days to be by myself. I'd been able to process my thoughts. I came out and I was shown things that were said or done. You know, a lot of, even up until now, I'm not done sifting through the different things, material, the things that were happening whilst I was away. And I realized that a lot of people were not particularly focused on whether what I had said, what I wrote in my book, they were not concerned about whether I had spoken the truth or not. They were concerned that the truth that I told offended their sensibilities, and they ignored the systemic evil that the book was addressing. It was just, nobody was really interested in, oh, did the Supreme Court actually do this? Did these lawyers actually do that? Nobody said, come and prove this. It was just the simple outrage that you dared to disrespect. You didn't know your boundary. The sense of outrage born of people demanding that persons must be respected above the truth. I have had interviewers asking me, but don't you think that's a little harsh? And I'm looking at this person. Somebody is practically sodomizing the Nigerian without lubricant, and you are asking me to be sensitive to how he takes my criticism or wailings. You're not focused. Even you who is asking the question, you are even more of a victim than me who is answering the question truthfully. A year ago, no, 2 years now, it was in October 2023, in what has proven to be my last appearance on Arise TV morning show. I was asked a question and I responded as truthfully as I possibly could. And I think I posted a portion of that response this morning. I'm going into my mailbox to find that the exact quote so that you may begin to understand where we are as a country. At the time, after I responded to the question, I think it was the day after, the National Broadcasting Commission slammed a letter, I believe a fine of some sort on Arise, alleging that I said something completely different from what I did say. But, you know, Yorubas have, in fact, it was Sonny Ade who made a song of it. He said, Ohun tẹ́ ẹ ṣe ló ń fún yín lára, ìwà tẹ́ ẹ hù ló ń bà yín lẹ́rù. Amúniṣì wí amúniṣì sọ. What he's saying is, when Igbos even have a program, they say when old women hear stories of dry bone, they remember their own mortality. They already feel guilty. So even when some things are not said, they are implied and they become truth in the hearing of the guilty. What I said at the time, I said, when your legislators are corrupt, you should be worried. If your executive are peopled by crooks, you should be afraid. When the judiciary stops being courts of law, the people should be alarmed. Nigerian courts have over the years, I don't think all that is necessary. I'm not. You can find it and read it or watch it on your own. The key thing is this. When I said this at the time, you will note that I did not mention a single individual. I was speaking about a system that had become criminal in the extreme, and that was not about the persons occupying the office, but about a system that has been designed to fulfill the specific purposes that they were already fulfilling. It did not take Tinubu to achieve that. It took a society that had acculturated itself to lies to permit that. The judiciary comes from me and you, our friends, siblings, cousins, colleagues, tribesmen, church members. They are the ones in the judiciary. The same for the House of Reps and the Senate, your houses of assembly. But it is me telling you what I see. If I turn around and I say that our government is complicit in the terrorism that has overtaken the country and for which Trump is coming into the same country that just a few weeks ago went bombing, we had the capacity to bomb in Benin. But the same country did not have the capacity to bomb in Sokoto. The same country. You see, if we were talking about something we did in the days of ECOMOG, that, some 20, 30 years ago, we went into Liberia to enforce peace. There were two warring sides and we went in, we enforced peace in their country, made peace for them, a whole country, mineral-rich country where people were savagely cutting off hands. I'm not talking about 30 years ago. I'm saying a few weeks ago, to enforce democracy in the Republic of Benin, Nigeria had the capacity. We could go into Republic of Benin. We had precision munition. We could bomb in Benin, but we lacked the capacity to bomb. Our Navy does not have, there is, you see, these are, but when I say these things, I'm the one who is overstepping my boundary. The truth is meant to respect your lives, is meant to respect your complicity, is meant to respect the obvious and deliberate decision to allow these things to fester over the years. It was my own rude way of telling you that I made it possible that all through the years of Buhari, every two-bit Fulani bandit was covered by the impunity that he extended over them. It was me. It was those of us who are telling you the truth that we were passing our boundaries, those you locked up for one reason or the other. We are the reasons that you couldn't do anything until America had to come. How shameless are you? And when we talk, we are the ones who have caused offense. Oh, we are demarketing Nigeria. Oh, yeah. We demarket Nigeria simply because we told you the truth. You know, Yorubas will say that two people cannot be equally guilty of a lie. If the person lying is unaware that he's lying, the person being lied against should be aware that he's being lied against. Look all around you. We are not where we are because of an inability to do the right thing. We are where we are by deliberate choices. We are where we are by deliberate choices. By deliberate choices. That's why we are where we are. And if we are going to come out of where we are, it will be because we told ourselves the truth, the real truth. Thank you, Jari Adebanjo. I have a few people who try to distract me. I appreciate that. Or you see, at the end of the day, we are here by deliberate choices. We chose the lies when we could have embraced the truth. The truth is not going to respect you. And there is a reason why the truth is completely disrespectful of your thoughts. You can't separate the truth from God. That's the nature of truth. It is God. Every time you see a truth, understand that one of the very first characteristic of truth, I'm not talking about facts, one of the first characteristic of truth is its immortality. Once it is the truth, it is the truth. And it simply cannot be killed. So you may kill the carrier, but the truth is not destroyed by reason of the fact that the carrier is more like you imagining for 1 second that planting a seed is the end of the seed. That is the nature of truth. Do you understand? So here is the point, and let's get this very clear. When you look at the way Nigeria is, you must understand very quickly that the one thing that you cannot afford to do is to waste time worrying about the emotions of those to whom you must tell the urgent truth. There's a very interesting guy. I quoted him in a post this morning, and Rooney is his name, a writer. And he says that a writer's job is to tell the truth and not the comfortable truth and not the popular truth either. You just simply tell the truth. So one of the first truths I need you to embrace this morning is that your government and the political parties, particularly the APC, are terrorist organizations and enablers of what has overtaken you. And I'll show you. We went to Benin. We bumped to preserve democracy. But in our country, thousands are dying. They've been displaced from their homes, and we have not had the capacity to deal with that. In the government, are sat persons with credible allegations of terrorism on their neck. Critical offices being held by persons alleged to be linked to terrorism. Our national security advisor owned up to arming a Fulani militia. This is the same national security advisor's office that has not allowed at any point for the harming of local state security forces in the southwest. I don't know about the southeast. I can't speak with certainty to that, but I know that Amotekun was set up in the southwest. I have the account of the head of Amotekun in Oyo State, and you're still telling me that the Nigerian state is not complicit in this? Come on. The Fulani militia in question they were not wielding pump action. These were sophisticated machine guns that were found with them. They had patrol vans. And when my friend's ransom was going to be paid, he was paid in the same Kwara state around Ofa. And there were security checkpoints set up by bandits who cleared the people who paid the ransom. And you want me to believe, and you are even demanding beyond belief. You're actually demanding that I know this and continue to believe that it is our operational incapacity that has allowed terrorism to fester in Nigeria. The truth does not respect your lies or your emotion. The Nigerian government and high officials of the Nigerian state are complicit in the insecurity that has overtaken Nigeria. Whatever their motivations may be, I have no clue. When they were trying to get into power, I can understand what Baraje was explaining at that time, that as a consequence of their cold hard calculations, the APC at its formation imported terrorists into Nigeria. That one is already an established thing that we should not be discussing or arguing any longer. These are the truths. Irreverent truth, inconvenient, you don't like it, you hate it. I couldn't care less. The fact is the fact is the fact, and the truth is the truth is the truth. It is in this same country Olawumi came into a TV studio. Commodore Olawumi, do you know the meaning of Commodore? A brigadier. That's a one-star general. A career spook. You don't see military spies. They don't come out to discuss what they have done. This was not a desk officer. This was a man who had to establish his own bona fide on TV camera, telling you, I have led operations in Namibia. What he's telling you is, take what I am saying serious. I'm not a frivolous man. And such a man was sufficiently alarmed. He came to the public space. He wasn't talking in a beer parlor, mind you. He went into Channel's TV studio. He looked into the camera. He spoke. And after he spoke, mind you, he was invited by the DSS. I believe Femi Falana was the one who followed him. And he came out and he's still out there and he has never denied or recanted. And there have been other officers who have come into the public space to say pretty much the same thing, including the one general who I can't remember his name now, is it Coffee or something like that? He said pretty much the same thing, that they captured the actual head of Boko Haram. So we're not dealing with a situation where we don't know where our problems are coming from. We're just dealing with a situation where we have become so acculturated to lies that the truth has become an offense in our society. It is the person telling you the truth that you actually hate now. You don't hate the lies any longer. Your umbrage, your anger is always reserved for the person who is telling you the uncomfortable truth, the irreverent truth. But what you forget that It's not in the nature of truth to care anything about your emotions. You cannot set parameters for truth. It's irreverent. He doesn't care. Who are you to be demanding that the truth not be told to you? Who are you? Can you kill and then awaken? Would you live forever and you expect me, who is very familiar with the fact of my mortality, to be afraid of you to the point where the truth becomes something we can no longer speak? Man, it's only because I'm sure YouTube might be persuaded to pull this down. I would have had a few choice words for you. And that reminds me of another thing that drove me into picking this topic this week. I think I was on Instagram, and then I saw somebody posted, what was that thing? Yeah, it was one pastor. I don't know him. He posted something and was saying, she was shape for any or something along those lines. One bald, skin headed, funny guy like that. It was, she wants shape for any. I think they call him pastor. Can't remember. I don't pay attention to those Penterascals these days. But he's one of them. He had one of those things. He made a post on Instagram. Somebody made a comment, and that was the one that really got me. He said, this man went full DF. And so I realized that I have apparently, because it was almost like the same day when this one was talking to me about how uh, Man Koja Emi. Yeah, thanks, Chola. General Kefi was the one that corroborated what Olawumi had said earlier on. So here is the thing. This person said, he went full DF. That meant the person, this pastor who was vibrating, was no longer respectful in speaking his truth. And then I realized that we've become so acculturated to our circumstances that speaking the truth has gradually become an offense in our country. But you see, the truth has its duty. It's not meant to be comfortable for you. It shouldn't even be popular sometime unless the society has reformed to the point where it recognizes the need for change. But you see, the truth is meant to discomfiture you, is meant to disrupt your comfort, give you the capacity for reality check. Let me shock you. Blithely, you see these statistics. They tell you 40% of Nigerians are living below the poverty line. That's about 3,300 naira a day. That's what they are saying the person is spending. 3,000, let's just say 3,005. Let me be very generous. That's all the person has for the day. I can't think of a single decent meal that a family is going to feed on for that amount, especially in the urban centers. But that is the reality of the Nigerian. But let me now convert that reality to some truth for you. That's over 100 million of us. Yeah, over 100 million of us. So poverty has become a real thing, a real existential issue in Nigeria. Over 100 million of us. That is more than the population of several African countries put together. Poverty is real for us. So we are not, regardless of how our rulers pretend, because they've stolen everything that should come to all of us, they flaunt what should belong to all. When Nigeria was able to project power in Sierra Leone, in Liberia, and across Africa, we didn't even have this much, but this much wasn't being stolen, even though we didn't have this much population either. But what has happened to us over time is that deliberately, the Nigerian state weaponized poverty because they know that the poorer you are, the easier it is to establish the feudal state that has been established today. So that's the linkage, poverty and feudalism, because you now have stratified class systems. So I'm not meant to be respectful in telling you this truth that you seem to be sleepwalking through. 100 million of me and you are on the street. They are spending less than 3,500 to feed every day. That's their reality. That feed, because when they talk about poverty, it's not just about food. That's the money that would also transport them. That's the money that will clothe them. That's the money that will house them. 3,500. Everything about their existence is predicated on that amount every day. Their total existence, that's his word. So you can imagine how easy it is for all the extremist groups to recruit from amongst us. And our rulers, they continue to party away like there is no tomorrow. Me and you are the ones who continue to bear the brunt. And that will soon take me to another area. And that's the part where I tell you this. Forgery is a reflex action for the people who are ruining Nigeria. They don't think anything of forgery. Forgery is nothing to them. Forgery na water. Tinubu wanted to change the national anthem. He achieved it in less than 72 hours. They passed it. Easy. Easy peasy. Whatever the emperor wants, the emperor gets. It came to the Tax Act. Why the forgery? You own the National Assembly already. On your mandate, they have stood. On your mandate, they are standing. The people be damned. You practically own the state assemblies because you own the governors too. What was the need for this forgery? I'm not even sure Tinubu himself is aware of the forgery, but it is a system built on fraudulence. In the midst of the forged Tax Act, you have a memorandum of understanding, the shamelessness of it. You want me to be the one to tell you that we've become a shameless nation. We've become a people completely devoid of shame because those who are ruining our country have no shame. We have Alpha Beta in Lagos. So a partner has to be found outside of Nigeria, and it has to be France. The same country that every other African country is trying to run away from, willing to risk wars to be severed and they parted ways. We, in an opaque contract that none of us have seen, this government that will forge a the act of the National Assembly, smuggle clauses. This is a place where there was no need to forge anything. Tinubu will get anything he wants out of the National Assembly. But that National Assembly, they still had to forge something. With that kind of compromised National Assembly, why the forgery? But we are meant to trust the government and walk into a relationship with France. This is the same government that awarded a no-bid contract to a company in which the president's son is sat on the board and which belongs to. Everybody knows there is no argument about the association of the Chagoris and Tinubu. But the people who do that, they are the ones, it's the French that Tinubu is meant to be handing our tax at, where there is meant to be some kind of collabo. Let me say this to each and every one of you. You can keep speaking Dogon Turenchi from now till kingdom come. But when you find a situation where even a compromised National Assembly was probably too ashamed to allow the kind of powers that those who administer the tax administration in Nigeria would prefer to have, to the point where they have to forge it, open your eyes. If you will not fight this, then I wonder exactly what you would fight. This is not about an electoral mandate somewhere. This is about your very citizenship, if it has ever existed. I've always told you are not citizens. You are victims. I've said that ad nauseum. But if ever there was a point where the line was ever drawn in the sand for all of us to decide exactly what we are, this is the one. A forged bill, an opaque contract with France. My children and their generation will reject me as an ancestor if I accept this and I simply walked into the slave chains that have been forged for me by Tinubu and his French allies. This is one place where we need to draw the sand, a line in the sand. If it's not been drawn for us already, we need to draw it ourselves. We need to draw it ourselves. The truth is meant to dismantle your illusions, and this is one of them. The illusion of citizenship. You are not citizens. And if you're ever going to become citizens, it will be because you earn the right to be citizens. This is one of those things that you have to do to earn the right to be citizens. Every citizen must pay tax. It is the duty of citizens to pay taxes. And it is also the duties of governments and responsible rulers, whether those are even democratically elected or not. And we certainly did not elect these ones democratically. They forced themselves on us. But even at that, you're welcome. You're in the offices. But the reality is, whilst you are in that office, you will serve us. Even though you are not in the habit of doing so, the time must come when you will. And this is the time. You've stolen enough, you don't have anything again. You need this. Abi, no problem. But you will do it the right way. And before you will take our money in the manner that you are demanding. Because Nigerians, let me be clear with you. We have entered the digital age. The capacity of the government to know what you own, where you are, at any point in time, in real time, is about to become doubly enhanced. You can't hide your money any longer. And if you cannot hide your money from armed robbers, which is what our government has become, that is another irreverent truth. Your government is a government of armed robbers. If we get the services, we'll pay. Some people stole so much that you use their stealing to justify the removal of subsidy. Subsidy is gone. Subsidy is gone because of subsidy frauds. How many people are in prison today? How much has been recovered? What has been done with what was recovered? How many people have been prosecuted? Who has paid for these crimes for which all of us have now had to pay? So many trillions were printed in ways and means. And you think Emefiele is the only one who spent the money. Where are all the others? Where is the judicial panel of inquiry to make sure that because if you don't think you are paying, let me show you how you are paying. If you are printing paper without dollar backing for a currency that is convertible, that is plain daylight robbery. Everybody involved in that crime should pay. But it is me and you that are paying. When I exchange $1 for 1,500 Nigerian naira, it is because of the monies that were printed. It is because of the ways and means. That thing that they just say blithely that Buhari was printing money. Was it only Buhari that spent the money that was printed? The people who collected that money, are they paid? And you simply want to move on and we should just come because the government is broke, everybody should pay. And what happens when we pay? What stops you from continuing your same profligate ways without any responsibility? Is it then that we can now talk? I think this is the time when we should be asking these questions of you. And we will. I don't know what others will do. But if I'm the only person who will resist the implementation of these laws, let it be so and put it on record that I said so. And the question is, what would you do? Oh, yeah, I'm the troublemaker. Yeah, I've come with my wahala again. The irreverent truth has been told to you. And instead of it to disrupt your comfort, instead of it to dismantle your illusions, challenge your established authorities, challenge them to tell you this truth. Now, lie. Your pastors will stand behind their pulpit, your clergies will stand. Somebody like Gumi is not in prison cell, but if the truth be told, Nigeria needs to declare, because I was thinking recently, very recently, I was thinking about the persons I left behind in prison. I know some of them who are still there. I'm in constant touch with my former cellmates and all that. And I look across the Nigerian political landscape, and I say this without any hesitation. There were 11 of us in my prison cell. But if we were going to be a truthful people, none of those persons would be in that prison cell whilst any member of the National Assembly still sat in that chamber. But the country that we have built, we give condemnation to victims and we applaud thieves and murderers. Imagine what kind of people have we become? A shameless lot. Most shameless lot. That's something you don't like to hear, but it is the truth. What kind of people is it? What kind of people is it that tolerates this kind of evil? You expect me to respect a person who has no respect for himself, talk less of me. So in telling a thief that he's a thief, I should, but you see, sir, excuse me, sir, it seems like you have subtracted more than you should have taken out of. Come on, the truth is the truth. Is the truth. It's not an offense, or rather, it may be an offense. It's not a sin. It's not a sin. So in your own space, tell the truth. The heavens will not fall. And if you will not tell it now, when would you tell it? When you're in the grave? This is my last broadcast for the year. And I'll take the first Sunday of the year off. Unless, of course, I find myself unable to stay away. But in closing, I would like to speak to the bombing that took place over the Christmas weekend. It is an admission of irresponsibility on the part of the Nigerian government to have come out to say that it was the one who provided the intelligence upon which the Americans acted. Fact of the matter is that you may equate that with a father who came out to say, oh, I was the one who gave the keys to my house to my neighbor to feed my son, whom I had deliberately left starving in the apartment. That is exactly how irresponsible it is. The first duty of a state is the protection of the citizens. Venerable Achi's wife and daughter remain in the custody of terrorists who had killed the man after having received the ransom. There are multiple Nigerians across the length and breadth of this country, constantly terrorized, intimidated, harassed, taxed by non-state actors, terrorists enabled by the Nigerian state. But the same state, I'll repeat, the same state that could provide intelligence to the Americans could bomb the Republic of Benin to enforce democracy, was completely lacking in the capacity to act on the intelligence that it idiotically claimed to have handed to the Americans who acted on its behalf. I applaud the Americans. They are the ones who have advertised our weakness. But let it be clear. This government does not speak for us. We are not a nation of weaklings. We're just badly led by myopic, blind bats who do not appear capable of recognizing the capacity for greatness that is thrust upon them by history. History will remember where each and every one of us stood in this moment. But history would also know I did not join anyone in keeping quiet. And by the grace of God, I'll be part and parcel, front and center of the resistance against the enforcement of this fraudulent tax act. Until next year, God bless you. Have a blessed day ahead of you and stay safe. Oh, staying safe means avoiding any gathering of APC people. You know, they've already been designated a terrorist organization. Trump is rarely ever caring or careful about taking out terrorists. So avoid APC meetings. Have a blessed year ahead and remember the unlawful captives in your prayer. If there is a prison around you and you can extend a hand, do so. Thank you very much. God bless. Bye-bye. And Happy New Year.